And I don't know if you overheard what we were saying, we're still missing our chairman and another member. So we're going to just proceed with some of the preliminary things that don't require a voting, an entire voting board, so anyway. So I'd like to call the meeting of the Town of Wappinger's Zoning Board of Appeals to order for May 25th, 2021. And B, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Delacorte?
Here.
Mr. Lawrence Lehman?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Okay, so the first order of business is going to be the acceptance of the minutes from May the 11th. Hopefully you all got a copy of the, anybody have any questions, any problems with the, okay, so
Is the mic? Is the mic on?
it looks on.
Yeah, okay.
It's got a green light on it.
All right, I just was too high up.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry.
what are you saying, B?
You weren't picking up.
Okay, I thought it was a short joke.
Yes, sir. I make a motion that we accept the minutes of
Thank you.
our May 11th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, so can we have roll call on that?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, we're going to skip around a little bit. We have a couple of public hearings. So we're going to move down to the discussion for Mary Biasotti. The appeal number is 21-7729. It's a variance. And Mary Biasotti is seeking an area variance of section 240-37 of the district regulations in an R40 zoning district, where 25 feet to the side yard property line is required. The applicant can provide 0 feet for the legalization of an existing deck extension, thus requesting a variance of 25 feet. The property is located at 63 Brothers Road and is identified as tax grid 6258-04-952180 in the town of Wappinger. Is it Mary? Okay. Mary, what we'd like to do now is have you come up to the microphone. And once you get up there, just tell us, for the record, who you are, where you live, and a little bit about what you're trying to achieve here by seeking a variance.
Okay. All right, Mary Biasotti. I have lived at 63 Brothers Road since 1966, long, long time. And I just put my house up for sale, and I did get a buyer, but we needed a survey, a legal survey, and it was done on May 4th. And what is indicated on the survey is that the deck that was built in 1994 is actually slightly over the property line, because we thought at the time that we were going straight back, and actually the property line is a little skewed. I actually have a copy of the survey here if you wanted to look at it, but I don't know if that's necessary, but I have a copy of the survey if you want to take a look. So I applied for a variance. I applied for, we had never gotten a building permit back in 1994. For whatever reason, we never got one. So now we applied to get one, and it was denied based on the fact that, we don't have the 25 feet supposedly required for the setback. Far from that. So that's why I'm here tonight, to try to get a variance so that I can proceed with the sale of my house.
Okay, well, just right off the bat, just so you know, we do have a copy of your survey, I believe.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thumbing through the paperwork now.
Okay. Okay,
But I believe I saw one in here earlier today,
okay.
which gives, okay, good.
Yeah. The only thing other thing I brought with me that I thought would be helpful is my neighbor, with whom I get along extremely well, so that's good news. My neighbor's home, he has a lot more property than I do, and his home is pretty far from the issue. If you don't mind, I could show this to you and you could pass it around, or
Yeah, so,
don't.
I did see you, are you speaking of Mr. Ropes? R-O-P?
Well, it's the new owners.
Okay, it's
The
not
new
okay.
people have been there for about 5 years.
And that's the side you're talking about, where it's
Yes,
just over? Okay.
that's where the deck is actually, it's only the steps of the deck,
Sure,
which actually encroach upon his property line.
sure,
But I don't know if you have this picture in particular, but, and I'll pass it around,
we
but,
didn't get anything in color, so I don't know.
oh, okay. Well-
Black and white in the
We have the
package.
photo in black and white?
Yes.
I just wanted to indicate to you that it's the steps of the deck that are over the property line. Okay? My neighbor was actually aware of it when he purchased the house 5 years ago, and I was never informed of that. He just informed me informally.
He found out.
He found out
Yeah.
5 years ago, and it didn't bother him because his house is up and around the corner, and it's at least 100-plus feet away from the property line.
I'd like to take a look at it, because I couldn't really tell, thank you.
Yeah,
I couldn't really tell from the black and white photo.
right, of course.
Thank you, sir.
The 10 by 16 concrete portion, is that further back then?
No, it's underneath.
But it's not
Underneath.
the full length of the deck, it's like midway? Is that right?
The concrete is under, the concrete was built, I'd say, in the 70s or 80s. And the deck that we now have goes beyond that
Do you know how
concrete
much it goes
patio.
beyond the concrete portion, the new deck?
I'm sorry?
Do you know how much it goes beyond? It looks like it's about halfway in the
About,
photos.
I would say roughly halfway,
Okay.
yes. There was initially, when we bought the house in 1966, there was a concrete slab.
Okay.
That's all it was. And then we had, I think,
So you decked over top of that and then extended?
correct, and we also had a flagstone patio that went beyond it. But this deck, wooden deck, is even beyond the patio.
Okay.
And it also looks like the deck's not very high, right, ma'am?
No, not very high at all.
Maybe a foot off the ground?
Yeah, there's 2 wooden steps down to the ground, so 3 steps altogether to
Okay.
get to the ground, yes, and they're shallow steps.
God bless you.
Thank you. Bless you.
So,
Quick question for Barbara, actually.
yeah.
So we can't approve something going over the property line.
No.
We inherently
So-
don't have the power for that.
Right, so I think I looked in the grid file, and the deck, when it was put up, I think the person who put it up thought they owned a lot more land. And probably because of the angle, most people think their property runs this way when they look at their house, and their property's running this way, so they think, I own
That's exactly right.
like that way.
Yeah.
And this is part of the issue that we have, that in the past, they didn't require surveys. And so today we do, and that's why these things are getting found. I have a lot of issues with things that get put in and people assume they own land. So it was an accident. Unfortunately now, the steps do encroach over, so they'll have to be removed, at that
Excuse me,
end.
Barb, I'm sorry. So I just want to back up before you go any further. I didn't quite hear Dave's question to you. I apologize.
Well, my assumption is we can't approve anything that goes over a property line. So the steps, like Barbara's saying, would inherently have to be taken off because they're
They go over, they.
Don't be on.
You could only approve to the property
We
line.
can
You
approve
don't
to
have,
zero.
you can't
We
give a
can't-
minus variance
Yeah.
where they
Okay.
go
Right.
over.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear on that point, because I thought I heard what I heard. So,
I would
okay,
guess you would
so-
need an easement to approve it go beyond. That'd be a
So the
separate
problem,
issue,
yeah, but
right?
you can't approve them to stay.
Yeah.
That's not in your purview. And the steps, and I'm not going to say go nowhere, they go somewhere, but they go to your neighbor's property.
Well, they actually go into, well, I guess it would be, I was going to say they go into my yard, but yeah.
They don't,
The yard,
they go-
just at that point, is his property.
Right.
yeah, Which we did not realize.
Right, so this is low to the ground?
Oh, yes.
So do you need those steps? Can they be moved then onto your property so that you could still step down? So where they're all the way to the right, can they be taken off and moved all the way to the left? Then you can still step off, but onto your own property.
We'd have to take down some bushes, but.
Or take the steps off and put them on the side, like they can, either you don't need them, or they can go anywhere on the long side or along the back, as long as they're not on the neighbor's property. That's an option, or
Yeah.
if it's low to the ground, just take them
Okay,
off.
would there be any option where, and you cut the entire deck back to the concrete? Is that something that would be acceptable? Because you can't cut back beyond it, because you'd always do the concrete, and, you know, taking out that concrete would be a lot of work, but cutting the deck back to the edge of the concrete, potentially not as much.
Dave, I don't know if we should get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
I think the first thing we should do is, well, we know there's one portion already that we can't do, that's approve these stairs.
Correct.
So we know right away that the stairs will have to be addressed. But the rest of it, I think what I would like to do, and you guys, I'll open it back up to discussion, it's okay with me. But I think what we need to do is take a look at it and see what we think would be feasible for this situation, because you have, you know, rather large variance.
A 100% variance is difficult. You know, usually we're trying to get to 50%, so it's just.
Yeah. Is there a
it's tough,
difference
and I know
between
there's a time component, I'm sure, to the sale.
is there a difference between a variance and an easement?
I can't address that myself. Barbara?
Yes, so a variance, this board is a judicial board. They can give you relief of the code on your property. If your neighbor wants to give you an easement, but you're jumping too far ahead, because if they don't give you the variance to the property line, it's immaterial. Just like you could always do a lot line realignment, that's more expensive at the planning board, if your neighbor wanted to give you a couple of feet to the side.
I think he'd be willing to do that.
So just so you know, to do that it's not, this is easy compared to that. It's not hard, but you would have to have a survey done of both your entire property and his, and the line that comes down, the surveyor would show it being, say, moved.
Yeah.
In,
He
so
he
that-
has an official survey. I had his, I don't have it
Right,
with
but
me,
you'd need someone to do one now for both properties, and where your line goes like this, and this is your house,
Yeah.
and say he gave you, whatever, 20
Yeah.
feet, they would show that at the planning board on the line, and then the planning board could approve that, and that new map showing the line moving, the surveyor would make you two new, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but a Schedule A is like, it starts your new deed. And it would show the extra land given to you and taken away from him. At that point, then, you would have more room for this deck. But that's not the issue here. If you wanted to put this on the side, because you probably still would need a variance, because you need 25 feet, and explore that, and then come back, that's an option. But at this point, I think this board should go out and see it before you move
Sure,
forward.
sure.
I would think so. I mean,
I
I'm
would
willing to
believe-
discuss.
I think seeing it would be a good idea.
100%, I think we should see it. I think it's just good, you know, on your end as a homeowner who is trying to sell the house, you know, to think about the quickest path
Yes,
to do so.
yes.
And an easement's a lot of work. I don't know that we'd be likely to approve a 100% variance. So I think it's worth, on your end, thinking about, if it is cut back, where you would cut it back to.
Well, I'd like to have you come and look at it, because, I want to be fair to the buyer, and I know the buyer is anxious. I mean, contracts have been signed, and I think the buyer is anxious to move in, and I want to be, I don't want to do a bait and switch to the buyer. If the buyer thinks he's getting a 16 by 26 deck, and now he's not, that's, I would love to have you take a look.
Okay.
Can we bring shop this week?
Could we take the time to bring our member who just arrived up to speak?
Oh,
Do you
sure.
mind if we do that very
No,
quickly?
that's okay.
Okay, so Mr. Shah is just another member, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And so basically, Shailesh, you might have seen the documentation.
Yes.
There's a request for a variance of 100%. But there's also a portion of the variance which the steps go over the line.
Right.
So we've asked Mrs. Biasotti, Mary, to remove at least those steps, and now the rest of it still comes to the edge of the line.
Correct.
Okay, so at minimum, we can't grant any variance for anything that's over the line. So we have to get rid of that. And then what we're thinking is, it's a large variance, as you know.
Right.
And that maybe we'll take a look at it, and there may be a discussion about,
Yeah, I see. that.
once we take a look at it,
Yeah. No, I
you know,
think
maybe we
have
can
to-
make some
Yeah,
recommendations.
yeah, we have to see that, and I think this is 100+% variance that we're looking for.
Right.
I think we need to talk about, do we have authority even to go that far?
So-
Somebody's property, right? So I think we need to reconvince ourselves, visit the site, and understand the magnitude of the impact.
Shailesh, your microphone.
Yeah.
I had the
Sorry.
same problem.
So what I was saying was, because this is not only to 100% variance, also it goes to somebody's property. So it might be, we need to understand that authority of this zoning board. Can we approve even that or discuss that idea? So before we do that, we should visit the place as you indicated.
Oh, please,
Right.
yes.
And we can have better assessment.
Okay. I just want you to know, and I realize that there are rules. I totally get that. My neighbor is very flexible. He's willing to speak to it at a public hearing or whatever. You mentioned it'd be more difficult to
Now
change
that I
the
see you're
lines.
selling your house, that's not really an option. That would take a few months.
Oh.
But I have, if the board doesn't tell you, keep in mind that when the board makes a decision on a variance, it runs with the land forever. So it's not just allowing this deck in this time to stay. That, if they would grant the whole thing, that means that forevermore, that deck could keep getting replaced in that position right on the property line. So keep in mind that when they look at that, that's how they have to think. That's huge. And in zoning boards don't historically like to give variances that are more than 10, 20%, 30 under extreme conditions. This is 100% to the line.
Yes.
So that's what they have to
Okay.
consider, because you're selling it, but those people could knock it down then and build it right back in the same spot if they chose to, if a variance was granted to the property line. So that's a heavy burden for them. So I just want you to understand that.
Okay. To be honest with you, I think that, I don't know if there was the 25-foot rule back when the homes were built in the early 60s, because...
If at minimum, it would have been 10 feet. There was never,
Uh-huh.
once zoning came in, there's always been setbacks. They
Okay.
may have been smaller, I don't know,
Yeah,
but it's never been right to the side.
okay,
We've never allowed anything to be built straight out.
right, yeah.
The concrete pad, would that have needed a variance,
No,
or is that fine, because that's just
concrete
hardscaping?
pads are considered landscaping.
Yeah.
You don't need a permit for, and you could basically make yourself a concrete jungle. So,
Okay, so the next step is to have someone come visit, is that it? Or what else do I do from, at this point?
So the next step would be, we would plan a site visit.
Okay,
And what we're probably looking at, it won't be this weekend because it's the holiday weekend and We generally would push it out probably till the following weekend, which is, I believe, the 5th.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually we meet every other week or so, right? We meet second and fourth Tuesday.
Yes.
So even if we come next week, it will not help anyway. So we will planning to do it, not this Saturday, but one after.
But on a weekend?
It would be
Yes, we
usually
put-
Saturday mornings.
Okay.
Usually
Right.
9 AM we set up
Okay.
meetings.
So that would be Saturday, June 5th?
Saturday, June 5th,
Okay.
9 AM typically.
Okay.
That's what we do, and if we, some of us don't always make it, and then they'll come at a different time. Sometimes people have plans already set up, so
Right.
we don't require you to be there. We do ask, though, that the lines of the plot lines are marked or some with paint or some kind of a marker like a stick in the ground or a string tied between them, so we kind of know where your line is. We know where to measure from, but in this case,
Yeah,
It-
okay.
in this case, you're right on the border, apparently
Right.
according to the, so it's not going to be that helpful to us, but I mean, anything you could do is beneficial.
Okay.
So we have an idea where we can go with
So,
you.
so I can't go ahead with the sale of the house until this is all
You
resolved?
can, we're not attorneys, but this is not the first time. If your attorney and their attorney agree, I don't know all the semantics, but sometimes they put money in escrow to let this finish after the sale. You'll have to speak to your attorney, and if their attorney agrees. But not knowing what the outcome could be, the other people have to realize that you may not just get it to the property line, it may have to be taken down so many feet, or whatever the outcome's gonna be, and at this point, we don't know.
And when would we know?
On the 8th,
On the
June
8th?
8th would be when your public hearing is.
And, okay, and is that here? Okay,
Simplest.
okay.
So,
All right.
I would speak to your attorney about alternatives to help you close,
Okay,
if the other party is amenable to that.
okay. All right, so will I, the next step is you coming to visit on
Saturday, June 5th,
at 9
9 a.m.
o'clock. Okay, and I'll try to have some, I mean, not,
If you just want to spray a marking on the ground or a piece of rope, or so we have an idea of where your property line is. I mean, it's
Okay.
evident on here, but it's nice to see it on the ground too.
okay,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's nice, that's what
I
we
I
like.
understand, I'm just not sure quite how to do that, since the line, fine, how would I,
Because you
well,
are,
I mean,
right.
I mean, I know there's a stick way in the woods, and there's a stick down by the mailbox.
That's
That's
Those
it.
are the lines.
That's kind of
Yeah, that's
what
starting
we're
point.
looking at, so I mean, if you could even point out where the stick is with maybe some kind of a marker,
A
like.
ribbon,
Okay,
colorful
Yeah.
ribbon.
Okay.
The iron pipe is gonna be easy to see. The one in the woods, if
Yeah.
that one could be marked off, if you can get somebody to mark it off
Yeah.
for you, just don't get poison ivy or fall down in there or any of that stuff.
okay,
But,
I'll
you know,
do
we'd
my
like to see that.
sure. Oh, no, I'd like to have you see it. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, so do you want to call for the public hearing on June 8th?
Yes.
And so B has work for you.
Oh, okay.
And you can always call us in the
You guys are good
morning
with that, right?
if you want, so
Okay.
we can help you further.
June 5th, June 8th for public hearing.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Just please keep in mind that it's a very difficult variance to approve. I don't want you to bank your sale on this being approved. If there's options on alternatives, I think it's worth discussing with the purchaser.
What alternatives? Like,
Removing the deck, taking off a portion of it, it's probably a discussion you should have with them.
okay,
So if you want, I don't know how long we're coming out on the 5th. If you're going to be there, we'd be happy to.
oh, I'll be sure to be there.
Yeah, or we could get a better idea when we see it,
Sure,
what
yeah,
we think of it.
okay.
May not necessarily share it with you,
Oh, I understand,
but we
Yep.
could tell you what we think of it.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so, we're still waiting for Pete. Do we want to proceed without Pete here, or
Yeah, yeah.
we want to proceed? Okay.
And then,
We got a public hearing.
Ms. Bonomo can have the option for a vote if she wants to wait for a full board or for Pete to show up or another meeting.
Okay.
That's her option.
All right, so, let me get my paperwork out. Okay, so, actually, back to the beginning. What's that?
Should we just jump on to Craig and try again?
Let's open them.
Yeah, that's another thing. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do here first is we have an appeal which we're gonna adjourn. That's
Do
Bova.
Craig?
Yeah, Craig
Oh,
Bova,
yeah, that's a good
yeah.
idea.
Okay, so do we need to roll call?
You have to
No.
open it up. You
Okay,
have to read it, open it up,
okay.
say something as to why you're adjourning it, and then adjourn it to June 8th.
Okay, so the next order of business is an appeal number 21, an adjourned public hearing, 21-7721, variance for Craig Bova, seeking the area variance of section 240-37 of district regulations in an R40 zoning district, where 25 feet to the side yard property line is required. The applicant can provide 12 feet for the construction of a 10 by 20 prefab shed, thus requesting a variance of 13 feet. The property is located at 5 Montfort Road and is identified as tax grid 6358-01-173528 in the town of Wappinger. And can I have a motion to reopen this public hearing?
I'll make the
Motion.
move.
I second it.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is I'd like to have a motion to adjourn this public hearing. It was a site visit, and it was inconclusive, and so I'd like to have someone make a motion to re-adjourn this public hearing.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to re-adjourn this pub until the next meeting.
To June 8th.
June 8th.
June 8th, yes,
You need a date
June 8th.
certain.
And,
Second?
Second, okay. And do we need a roll call on that?
No.
No.
Just call, anyone have any,
Okay,
is everyone in favor?
Anyone have any objections to,
No.
so, it's going to be re-adjourned. Thank you, Boo. Okay, so, the next item, which is the first item on the agenda, is appeal number 217727, which is a variance for Christine Bonanno, seeking an area variance of section 240-37 of the district regulations in an R20/40 zoning district, where 50 feet is required to the front property line. The applicant can provide 22 feet for the construction of a new front landing and steps, thus requesting a variance of 28 feet. The property is located at 27 Peters Road and is identified as tax grid number 6357-03-035076 in the town of Wappinger. And can I have a motion to reopen this public hearing?
I make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay? And roll call on that? Do we need a roll call on that?
No, I think you do later on.
I got nervous with these roll calls.
You do later on, I think. That's good.
Okay, so,
Your turn.
Ms. Bonanno, yeah, please just give us, for the record, your name and why you're here, and go through once again what you would like. And I
Sure.
know there was some changes made.
Yeah, my name's Christine Bonanno. I'm the owner of 27 Peters Road. There was a fire in my home last March, so everything got redone inside. I have my inspections, and we passed, and we're all good there. But we decided, since everything else was so much nicer, that we would fix up the front step, because it was red brick and it was kind of falling apart, and there was no railing, and there was a planter that was kind of icky. So we said, you know what, let's get rid of it, just make it a nice landing. So talked to my contractor. There was already a concrete slab there that came out a little from the step. However many steps there are, there was one less previously. So he took it upon himself to add an extra step and go out to the concrete landing. And that is why I'm here.
And that's why the change between what you asked for last time and what you're asking for this time.
Yes.
So one thing before we go too much further is we only have 4 members tonight, and if you would like a full voting board, you know, I don't know how much longer we're gonna wait for our chairman to show up, or you can hope for, if we adjourn it for the next meeting, we can have the public hearing with a full board. That's gonna be up to you.
I mean, at this point, the house is still under construction. I live an hour and a half away. So I would appreciate a vote tonight, but if it's in my interest to wait, I would leave that to you.
Okay, so, I would probably say.
The dimension we're good with, right? That was the final dimension from the property line? Because I know that was a question when we were on site.
The
Yeah.
one that you took your tape measure.
Yeah.
Right, so 25 feet, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. 22 feet can be provided, thus requesting a variance of 28 feet. So the percentages, again, is over 50%.
Yeah, so I mean, when we measured that, that was basically from the curb to the
Yeah.
steps.
No, not where we walked in 12 feet? Didn't we walk in 12 feet? and make
We
a
did,
measurement?
that's why it had changed.
Okay,
We did measure in
Yeah.
the extra feet, and that's why it changed.
okay, so that's the
But we were also
22.
questioning how close the houses were to the to the road there.
Yeah, it seemed like all the
On
houses
that whole
were
road.
closer than,
All the houses on
Yeah.
the horseshoe were built by the same man, Mr. Peters, and he built basically the same house.
Okay. So, now Barbara, I'm not sure how do I make that call to the rest of the board?
So you would ask for a motion to approve or deny the variance, and let somebody make that motion to either approve or deny.
Well, I think what, I could be wrong, what the applicant is saying, that she feels it's in her best interest to proceed, but,
But that was her option, because she lives so far away.
I mean, if I lived in the house, fine, I'll wait. But
Okay.
like I said, it's an hour and a half away. It's a trip.
So you need at least 3 to agree for this to pass, just so you're aware. Has to be a majority.
Okay, and if they don't agree, then
You might have to remove a step or two, have it redone. We're just laying out the ground.
so just throwing it out there, yeah. So, that's why I was saying I don't know how to present it to the board.
is Mr. Galati still on his way?
Well, he was in a Zoom meeting with his job.
Well,
I'll text
we're gonna
him.
try and reach him.
I'm going to text him right
Okay.
now.
We'll try and reach him one more time.
Do you have any other questions?
Well, we actually did go out there, and we spent quite a bit of time with a tape measure. One of our colleagues, Dave, brought
yeah,
this.
I mean, I think the main concern is making sure you would be asking for the right variance. If you're comfortable with that and we're comfortable with that, I mean, that would be the only concern I would have.
Yeah. So, you know, it's,
That was the most important
Yeah,
part.
right,
Pam, was
the
just to
last
make
time-
sure that the distance was the correct distance. That's what we wanted to make sure that we were.
Yeah,
That
it
you were
should be,
asking.
it should be correct.
Yeah, I mean, if we approve 22 feet and then you have a survey, like the first woman, ends up being closer, then you would have to do this process again.
Well, thank goodness I have more than 0 feet.
Right, yeah. So we didn't want that.
yeah. So we'll give it a couple of minutes, and.
Otherwise, the steps did look very nice. They were.
Doesn't it look nice? You
Yes,
should see the inside of the
It was a
house.
very nice job. It was-
Everything looks nice.
Yeah,
well done. Yeah, the house looked very
It's
nice.
a definite improvement as to what it was before. And safer because I put the railing on.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I was late. I did not realize the timing today. Just keep working in backyard.
So the building department is very busy. We're issuing a lot of pool permits, which is not
that
that
time of year, right?
difficult, but we're hearing from a lot of people that they can't even get a pool, everyone's sold out.
You can't get anything.
So like last year, because of COVID, but I still think a lot of pools might come from China or different places, so there are people that are looking for permits, and the pool may be in July or August. So it just shows you, there's
I'm
money to
looking at-
buy, but nothing to buy.
Yep, right.
I'm looking at sheds.
And how's that going?
Not good.
No.
Prices are rising twice a month.
Oh, yeah.
The longer you wait, the more they go up, and then additionally, the time for installation, October. If you want them to build it on site, it's October. If you want them to just plop one down, it's September.
Plywood is more than doubled. My husband told me about, I don't know what kind of kit, he's an electrician, but he had to buy a reel of some sort of wire. And it was
Oh.
$129 last year, and this year it's $268
Yep.
for the
Yep.
same roll of wire.
Yes, right.
And that's just it across the board.
I just
Yeah.
got surprised.
Friend of mine took a picture of $48 for a piece of plywood in
Terrible.
Yeah,
Home Depot.
yeah,
$48
Yes.
for one sheet of plywood.
yes.
It's crazy.
It
We had a
says-
friend who needed a piece, and my husband goes, I think I have some 3/4 downstairs, and we had a piece that was bigger than what he needed. He goes, oh, thank God, because he only needed a smaller piece than a whole sheet, and it would have been so expensive.
What are they saying, 2x4s? Regular Douglas fir junky 2x4s are like up to $10 a piece or something. Everything's just gone crazy. It's just gone crazy. Everything's just gone crazy.
One of my friends sent out a photo of a 5-gallon can of gasoline and an old 2x4 on top of it. $2,100, take it or leave it. Did we get him, Dee?
Yeah. He didn't think we were going to wait this long when he was pulling up to his driveway. He said he could be here in 10 minutes.
10 minutes tonight is better than an hour and a half,
Yes.
if it's okay with you guys.
Would you guys rather wait, or should we tell him just to stay home?
No, I think if she's ready to
How
wait,
about you?
then
Would you
we'll
wait?
wait.
Would you like to wait? Would you like to?
She said, yeah, yeah, I think we'll.
The rest of the board thinks. So you guys, you want to proceed?
Me too.
I'm ready.
I would be okay with proceeding.
Yeah, we'll be okay. If she's ready, then I think we
I
should
think we're
proceed.
going to go ahead and proceed.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. No, it's okay.
Okay, come on back up. We're on candid camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is ask the board, one of the members, to make a motion to grant or deny the variance.
I believe we need to close the public hearing.
Oh, I
Yeah, you have to
apologize,
close the public hearing.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion, close the public hearing.
Second.
I second it.
Okay, we got a second, okay, good.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
All right.
Okay, so can I have someone now make a motion to grant or deny the variance?
I'll make motion to grant variance.
Okay, can you tell us why?
Okay, yes. I think the request of variance will not produce any undesirable change in the neighborhood. The request is substantial, but is not going to, as I said, will not change any characteristics. There are no other way to meet this variance, so there are no other way to make this make it physically possible without variance. So I think it's the right thing to do is to give the variance. The variance will not have any significant impact on on the neighborhoods, and the variance will not create any adverse effect on physically or environmental conditions. Yes, this variance, this difficulty was self-created because it is known at the point, but I think it's not enough reason to deny. So I said we should allow the variance, accept the variance.
I'll second.
Okay, so we need a roll call? B? Yes.
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 Okay, so
Thank you.
Yes.
The variance is granted, and B and Barb will have some paperwork for you, I
No,
would
we'll
imagine.
take care of this tomorrow in the office, and then you'll get a call from the building department when the permit's issued.
Okay, and then just come pick it up or email it?
They'll call
or-
you. You can mail it, fax it, whatever. They'll deal with that, with you, what's convenient for
All
you.
right, terrific, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you, have a great
and good luck.
Right.
enjoy your.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So, if there's no other further business?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, okay.
All right.
Barb, you have anything for us?
Got nothing.
Good.
You're my third long meeting tonight. I'm done.
Whoa.
I'm so done.
All right. Excellent, well,
But
thank
they've
you
all
very
been good
much.
meetings, so that's a plus.
You
Good
know,
job, sir.
I have the bone to pick with Pete, right, for just not showing up. I guess,
His paid work
Well,
comes
he
first.
has such faith in you. It's a compliment.
yeah, his paperwork's still sitting there, I'm just gonna scratch it all up.
I was
him some
I was
notes.
debating should I go or not because I was already late.
That's a good thing you
But I
came.
said, let me go.
Good thing you
Yeah,
came.
wow.
Yeah, we should be off the record, yeah.
I believe so.